like to call the February meeting of the Pitt County Planning Board to order. Welcome everybody that's in the audience and the TV audience, and it's a beautiful day. At least it ain't snowing. So at this time, we'll ask Mr. Bud Wooten if he will open with a word of prayer, and Kenneth Ross to pledge their allegiance. Please stand.
Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for this day and the many, many blessings that you send our way each and every day. We thank you for our life and the things that we do and enjoy. We thank you for this department and what it means to the citizens of Pitt County, and we just thank you for their diligence and as they prepare for the meeting tonight. Bless us as we deliberate the business that comes beforehand. We ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
If y'all will join me in facing the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
One sneaking in.
This time, everybody was mailed out the minutes. Do we have any amendments to the minutes before we vote on them?
I move to be approved.
Second it.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, Tabitha, will you do the roll call, please?
Jacob Cox, Lyman Hardy,
Here.
Wanda Harrington,
Here.
Thomas Harris,
Here.
Aaron Hines,
Here.
Matt Nobles, Johnny Kenner,
Yeah.
Kenneth Ross,
Yeah.
William Wooten.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we received notice that Frank Bradham and Clay Malloy will not be present, and also Commissioner Colson would like to offer his apologies for not being able to attend tonight.
Thank you, Tabitha. At this time, the first thing on the agenda is Porter Mills and Mr. James Rowe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, board members. We have two preliminary plats before you tonight. These are items that you're probably not accustomed to. Of course, we've got two brand new members with us, Mr. Hines and Mr. Penner, so we'll take these a little bit more slowly than usual. These are two preliminary plats that have been submitted. As you know, back in the mid to late 2000s, we were seeing routinely 4 or 5 preliminary plats a month come through as major subdivisions for your review. Typically, your major subdivisions are anything over 9 lots or which have a road involved. Both of these before you tonight have roads involved as far as new road construction, and they're both over 10 lots in size. So the first one is, as the chairman has mentioned, Porter Mills, and with that, this is located just north of the village of Simpson on Jethro Mills Rd. It is 17 lots on about 16 acres. And on your screen now you can see the development site. And just to orient you a little bit better on the screen, this is Jethro Mills Road here, which is basically a short connector road between NC 33 East and Blackjack Simpson Road. This is Garden Grove subdivision. This is River Branch subdivision, which gains access off NC 33 East. Subdivision just to the south is Millbrook and is actually within the village limits of the village of Simpson, and this entire area is within Simpson's extraterritorial jurisdiction. This site is outside of the 100-year floodplain. It is served, as far as utilities are concerned, by Greenville Utilities for electricity and Eastern Pines Water Corporation for water service. The conditions and requirements, when we get these plats in for review, staff reviews them, then we have a number of agencies we send them out for review. Of course, we're going through our subdivision ordinance to ensure that all the requirements for road construction, lot dimensions, and so forth are met, as well as when we send it out to some of the service providers, whether it be Eastern Pines, Greenville Utilities, or some of the others, they also provide some useful comments and requirements in some cases for your consideration. So some of the first ones that we'll review, and you'll see the full list in your package tonight, some that we want to highlight. Since this does include a road cul-de-sac that's being proposed. A soil erosion plan, because of the amount of land disturbance that's involved, is required, as well as a construction plan. When we initially reviewed this too, may recall you have provisions in your ordinance for street interconnectivity. This particular development, the way it's currently laid out, is for one cul-de-sac. So you have all the lots with one way in, one way out into the subdivision. And for the most part, that's somewhat a result of the configuration of this parent parcel of land. And we're going to talk more fully about our suggestion about the stub-out streets in a minute. Also, this is the first time through with a preliminary plat that we also have our new road maintenance requirements in place. So as this moves through the process, through a construction plan phase, and then through to a final plat, we'll require 15% guarantee for the street maintenance. So it's based on the amount of construction cost associated with the road. We will secure that amount of funding, hold it here with the county until the roads are taken over by DOT. These are proposed private streets. There are a few other requirements. So, as I mentioned, service requirements. Service suppliers sometimes provide requirements as well. For example, there were some mention from Greenville Utilities about electric easements. Those need to be shown. And as well, Department of Transportation also is requiring a driveway permit, and this is where the proposed driveway for the subdivision street would intersect with Jethro Mills Rd. Also, I had several of you that went on the field trip with Matt earlier in the week, and those that couldn't, we want to at least show some site pictures here so you could kind of get a better feel for this property that's under development. If you were standing on Jethro Mills Road looking southward, this is pretty much the bulk of the property here. Looking back, along that back tree line there is Millbrook subdivision, which I mentioned is in the village of Simpson. This is actually looking kind of close to Millbrook subdivision, back toward Jethro Mills Road. And if you'll notice, this white fence here is right along Jethro Mills Road. It is pretty much along the front line of this particular development site. This is the fence I just referenced, and this is Jethro Mills Road right here running out to Blackjack Simpson Road. This is right at the intersection of Jethro Mills Road and NC 33 East. And this is looking back towards the east, right at the intersection of Jethro Mills and NC 33 East. I mentioned about the stub-out street. This particular parcel here is in between River Branch and this proposed subdivision plat. And in turn, there's been some development in this one outlot. I'm going to take you back to the original map. This is River Branch again. This is the house I was just showing you here on this parcel. You can see it has access all the way out to NC 33 East. This lot, for all practical purposes, has been developed for single-family residence. We were originally proposing that another stub-out come out about right in here on the preliminary plat, and with hopes that it would sometime interconnect with this street. At this point in time, that doesn't look like it's going to be the case, and you also have a letter in front of you tonight from the village of Simpson where both the fire chief and the mayor have reviewed this. Remember, the county is under contract with the village of Simpson to administer the subdivision regulations within this jurisdiction. They're suggesting that this particular recommendation be removed as far as the stub out. Staff also have gone back and looked at it, and based on our requirements in the subdivision ordinance, we see there are some compelling reasons why it can be removed and not be made a part of this listing. So tonight, as we get further along and get some public comments, you may want to consider that in removing the stub out provision. I will tell you, from staff's perspective, we worked long and hard with the planning board to get the street interconnectivity requirements in there. We are very conservative when we apply these, and there needs to be some very compelling reasons why we don't get the interconnectivity. I believe there may be some here, But I will tell you, I am very staunch about the second one that you'll see tonight in the other preliminary plat as far as a stub-out street. If you look at these two side by side, they look very similar in nature, but there are some differences between the site characteristics on either side of the development sites. So again, back to the recommendations and some of the other pictures that go along with this. You may recall we also have a technical review committee that reviews this. This is a group of different agencies that come in, look at all the conditions. They have recommended conditional approval on this plat. And as I said, there may be some further discussion about the street stub out. The other comments, I believe, should stay as they are. So with that, Mr. Chairman, you know we now send notices to folks that have property adjacent to the development sites. Those notices were mailed out a week or so ago. We also now provide public comment opportunities, not a public hearing, but a public comment session for folks that might be interested in making some comments about this development site. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, James. At this time, we'll open the audience up for public comment on this. We have 3 people that signed up to speak. I will remind you before you come up, we limit you to 3 minutes. So the first one is Joseph Holloway. Come forward and state your name, please.
My name is Joseph Hollowell. I'm the property owner that's adjacent to the proposed neighborhood. I'm opposed the stub out for multiple reasons, but the main concern would be from the neighborhood next to us. We do have people that come to the end of that particular stub out and have turned around in our backyard a few times and messed up the property. And I'm concerned that if there's another stub out directly across from that, potentially there's going to be traffic going from one neighborhood to the other when it's not, needed, I guess you would say. My wife and I, this is going to be our final house that we live in. We have no plans to develop behind the house. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Joseph. Next up, Howard Nichols.
I'm Howard Nichols. I'm agent for Dale Britt. I signed his name up just in case he wanted to say anything else. But basically, we kind of feel the same way. We just, when we originally designed the lots and drew it out, we just didn't see any win-win situation to stub a road out into somebody's backyard. And we've talked to Mr. Hollowell since, and we still feel that way. We're here to answer any questions as well.
Anybody have any questions for Howard? Thank you, Howard. Dale, do you still want to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Dale Britt, and I am the developer of the property. Bought the property from Mr. Ed Porter, and of course, you saw the layout there. It's a 17-lot subdivision. We have that proposed cul-de-sac coming in there that, of course, we'll build the street to state specifications for the state DOT to take the street over. The stub out was kind of a surprise at the last minute to say that might be needed. And of course, when we looked at the area that the stub out is requested, it is about a 300-foot section of street that would go between 2 lots, and we potentially could lose a lot. And of course, from a pure economic standpoint, it would be very damaging to our potential as far as the subdivision is concerned. But I guess my point was the same that you've looked at. I mean, there is a section of land, small piece of land in between those 2 subdivisions. What's the name of the River Branch subdivision? I've noticed that even they've put up some barriers going out into some of the roads there at River Branch. But this, of course, would create, if it's put through there, or if we're required to stub it into Mr. Holloway's property, of course, it would just be a dead end into his backyard. And I've gone out there and looked, and of course, he's put an outbuilding back there that just about lines up with with where a stub, where a street could potentially come through, but as he said, he intends to live there and has no interest in developing it. And even if he did, that little section there would probably allow for maybe a lot or two, and the expense of building the streets to accommodate a couple lots would be very substantial. Anyway, I would request that stub out be removed from the recommendation if at all possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's all that's signed up. Is there anybody else that'd like to speak before we close the floor for public comment? Okay, at this time, we'll close the floor for public comment and turn it over to the board for comments.
Question I have, what did the technical review committee say about the stub out street? Was this approved before them, or?
It was, again, when they reviewed it, we didn't have some of the information we've got now, especially from the Village of Simpson. You can see that letter's brand new. My concern is, to be quite honest, we've had a similar situation with the Village of Simpson previously, and there was a barricade installed. They did not support the removal of it. And when this comes down, I mean, even if you were to include it as a condition, the village could simply override it because basically they have that authority at this point. So with that said, in this case, I would recommend that you follow the request of the jurisdiction. Again, we sent this to them for review up front. They didn't have any comments about the stub out. They have had some subsequent comments. And given that response you have in front of you, I'd recommend removal of the stub out at this point. I just don't think it would stand even if you approved it tonight.
Well, I sort of recall the instance of the stub out street that stayed, and also the many meetings and sessions we have had on trying to get stub out streets in and eliminate one way in, one way out.
Right.
But this subdivision doesn't appear to be that large to be that much of a concern, but.
And as I mentioned, Mr. Chairman, you know, staff is going to be very, if there's any opportunity for a stub out, when we first review it, we're going to recommend one. With the additional information, some of the ideas that the surveyor and the agent has brought forward, at this point, I think we've got some compelling reasons based on our subdivision ordinance where it talks about existing development, some other issues. This condition could be removed.
Okay. Anybody else?
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve it without the stub out. Everybody's been in favor of not having a stub out. You got a letter from the mayor of Simpson, and I think that's the way to go with it.
I second it.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you. Okay. The next one is Oak Point Phase 2.
Section 2, Phase 2. Again, another preliminary plat. Similar design, similar size. This is located on the west side of Greenville, Frog Level Road, just east of its intersection with Bell Arthur Road. 21 lots on about 21 acres. This is a larger view of the site area. And just to orient you again, this is Frog Level Road. The area in blue here, outlined in blue or green, is the development site. Frog Level Road is the road right in front, and you can see it intersects with Bell Arthur right here. This is Kensaw-Willoughby Road running back up towards Stantonsburg. It's a little bit closer view, and you can see on the development plan in your package tonight, there are already 2 outlots. This was the first lot in Oak Point, and you also have a couple of proposed lots here that I'm going to mention in some comments a little bit later for Oak Point Section 2, Phase 1. The new subdivision street would come in about right here off Frog Level Road and loop to the rear of those 2 outlots that are already in place. As far as any conditions or other site characteristics, This site is not in the 100-year floodplain. This is in the county's jurisdiction and is zoned as rural residential. The utility providers for electricity would be Greenville Utilities, for water service, Bell Arthur Water Corporation. Again, we have a street going in, cul-de-sac in this case, soil erosion and sedimentation control plan, as well as a construction plan would be required. Also, on the plat, we are requesting a stub-out street in the vicinity of lots 8, 9, or 10, giving some flexibility for the engineer and/or surveyor to kind of blend that into the plan. This plan also came to our office about 4 years ago as a sketch plan, and at that time when staff reviewed it, we did make mention to the agent for the developer that a stub-out would be recommended, as we're recommending tonight. The developer also, in this case, this falls under the new requirements for financial guarantees for these roads. It's a proposed public street, and in turn, 15% of the construction costs would have to be submitted to the county to hold until DOT takes over the road for maintenance purposes. Other conditions and requirements, on the west side, or on the east side, I should say, there is a blue line stream which has a riparian buffer associated with it. That needs to be indicated on the plan. There are some development restrictions that go along with that. Electric easements are required by Greenville Utilities, and they've put that in specific detail on their comments. Also, a driveway permit's required on the Frog Level Road. And the last comment here is an add-on. In talking with Environmental Health just today, there's already a lot 1 and 2 that's being proposed in Section 2, Phase 1. That needs to be clearly indicated on this plat. Those 2 lots are already subject to another plan, and we just need to keep those separate at this point. So that is an add-on condition that hopefully you will carry forward in your comments or your motion tonight. Some pictures here. This is right off Frog Level Road, looking back onto the development site. You can see there are some pine trees, small pine trees on that site. This is looking back toward the east on Frog Level Road. These 2 homes are situated on the 2 outlots that are shown on the plan. This is looking back toward the west or back toward Bell Arthur Road. And this is looking towards the south on the opposite side of the road. Technical Review Committee has reviewed this and recommended conditional approval. And as I mentioned before, Mr. Chairman, we send this out to the adjacent property owners. There may be some here for comments tonight, and if so, we'll ask that you entertain those.
Thank you, James. At this time, we'll open the floor for public comment of Mr. Mike Bowles. Remember, 3 minutes, Mike.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. I'd like to pass up. Help me out real quick. It's the only one I got. I'll give it to you when I get through. How about that? All right. Mr. Chairman and board members, I guess you realize the only reason I'm standing up here and the only reason I've given you a handout is the issue of the stub out. When we design these subdivisions, safety is paramount. That's the first thing we're charged with, is protecting the public health and safety and welfare. But with that, I've got a copy of a couple of pages of your subdivision ordinance. On page 19 of 50, the maximum cul-de-sac length that is allowed in your subdivision ordinance, it's 1,800 feet. We are 1,179 feet, which is 62% of that number. If you will go over to page 20 of 50. And this is kind of where I'm laying my hat regarding the stub, along with some other issues that I'll address. Stub roads to adjacent properties shall be required except when the planning board or subdivision administrator, as appropriate, deems that. And there's several things. There's 5 items. C, there's a large discrepancy in the size of the adjacent parcel. A smaller parcel may be subdivided, may not have to stub to a much larger parcel. Other more desirable interconnectivities are available to the larger parcel. All right, if you would flip over to the tax map that I've provided of the adjoining parcel, that is Country Farms LLC. That is an LLC that was the deceased, Dr. Sellers Crisp and his wife, Nelson Crisp. Dr. Crisp was one of my first clients when I went into business in 1989. Dr. Crisp did not ever do a whole lot of subdividing of land. You can see on this map, this tax map, that this parcel in the rear has plenty of access to Frog Level Road. In the review comments, the fire marshal didn't make any negative comments to the cul-de-sac. And the reason I feel why is if you'll go to the 3rd page of the handouts I gave you, it's a copy of the fire code, where I'm required to provide a turnaround at the end of the road. Can I go on? We don't have a lot of development going on in Pitt County right now.
Give a couple more minutes.
Okay, and I'll be as brief as I can. We've got a 96-foot turnaround radius, which meets the fire code on this design. Don Edmondson, who is a big developer in Greenville, he served on the board of the committee as well as I did about maintaining a maintenance agreement, a surety, for lack of better words, for roads. We want to be able to control our own traffic in the subdivision and not let almost 90 acres, when we're only at 20 acres, the extra acre comes from those 2 frontage lots. We are trying to do a nice job and reduce county inspections. We're putting curb and gutter in this street. We don't want any parked cars at the end of these stub out streets. I've done them. I've seen it happen. You have parked cars. You have basketball goals. They're going to use the property in the rears maintained by Charles Wainwright. It could be tractors coming through there. And it is, when it gets down to it, as long as we satisfy safety, which I think we have, it goes into a matter of dollars and cents. The street stub will cost $18,000 to build. We will lose 1 lot, and that's guaranteed. We will lose 1 lot. So you take those 2 costs combined, that's $45,000. As James said, back in the 2000s, you saw me up here, plat after plat after plat. Things are just starting to turn a little bit. This developer's trying to do a good job. He's trying to put in curb and guttered roads to, one thing, to provide a nicer neighborhood, but another thing, it reduces erosion control issues. It makes it a whole lot easier, which we talked about in the committee, on getting DOT acceptance by not having constant maintenance on shoulder ditches. I appreciate the extra time, and I would, if y'all deem that a street stub is necessary, because it's y'all's call. The recommendation was made by James and his staff, which I respect. But I would like to make one comment after y'all make your vote, and you'll understand why.
Anybody else wants to make public comment? Okay, at this time, we'll close the, oh, excuse me. Come forward, sir.
My name's Ron Kemp. I didn't sign up to speak because
Okay.
I'm here representing my family. They own the land on the east side of this proposed development. We know nothing about it except what we got in the mail. My family's owned that property for 100 years. The only reason I'm speaking is just to let you know, we have absolutely no objection to the development. I mean, we've held that property only for potential development in the future. It's not farmed, it's cut over former farmland and timberland. So I have no horse in this race as far as the stub out issue, but we do support the development, and we are we're the ones across the riparian parcel 10731.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we'll close the floor for public comment and turn it over to the board for comments. No comment, I entertain a motion.
I move to approve it without the stub out.
Got a motion and a second to approve it without the stub out, correct?
Correct.
All in favor? Raise your right hand.
You gonna have any discussion?
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Discussion.
My only comment is, we worked long and hard to get this incorporated into our stuff, and if we keep eliminating stub outs, we're gonna be right back to square one. And Mike, I understand your position and understand Don's position. In fact, I live in one of Don's subdivisions, and I know what he does, and I appreciate it. But I just can't see the board continue to go forth and eliminating stub outs when they're clearly put there for a purpose.
If it was a half a mile back, I'd agree with you, but it's a real short street, basically.
What's in the future, though? That's where I'm coming from. What's in the future?
Can I make a comment to that?
You know. Well, sure. I mean, if the chairman,
The cul-de-sac, excuse me. The cul-de-sac can't go any farther. And I mean, when you say what's in the future, and no, I agree. I think interconnectivity in cases is a good thing. In this case, when we've got so many minimums, and I think that I've given you evidence where approval without the stub, you still fall. You're allowed. I mean, there's a caveat in there, but again, that's y'all's decision. But that is the only thing I wanted to add. That cul-de-sac can't go any farther.
I'm speaking about the stub out street.
Right.
Stub out.
Yes, sir.
And what's beyond, that stub out street is put there for a reason. Staff put it there for a reason. And what's beyond in future development in the future. Maybe nothing this board will ever have to tackle. But, it's there for a reason. And I just hate to see us quit. Yet I support what you're doing. I support Don. I support this gentleman here,
And I respect this board's decision.
And whatever.
And that's why.
We'd like to reflect on what you said that I worked on those committees too, and I know we worked long and hard to get stub outs to keep from that one way in, one way out. And it took us a long time to get it.
Yeah, it
Finally
really did.
thought we had a plan in place, and I can understand.
And I will add, and not to further the same, but during that critical time, some of the subdivisions that we were approving were tremendous in size. And there was one way in and one way out. Yeah. And that's the very reason we worked hard to get this put in.
Right.
And I have to rely on staff for guidance because they're the ones that can, make things happen.
All right, any other comment or discussion?
Where did we say the sub out was gonna be, James?
It is on your map. We gave them flexibility anywhere between like lots 8 through 10, 8, 9, 10 in that area.
Anybody else? We got a motion on the floor and a second to approve the subdivision without the stub out. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same. All right, motion carried.
You still have a comment? Okay, Mr. Chairman, those were the 2 action items for tonight, and we appreciate your deliberation on that. I will tell you, Matt and I have had a discussion. This is a section of the ordinance with the interconnectivity. We both agreed after having read back through it and poured back through it several times over the last couple of weeks or so, we want to give it some more attention. So I think it would probably, after some discussion tonight, that's going to be one of our items on our work program for the upcoming year that I'll mention in just a minute. But there probably needs to be a little bit, it's wordy at best. I think we can accomplish what we set out to do with a shorter section and still give you the guidance you need in considering that. So that was an aside. Informational items for tonight. There are several. I did want to highlight our annual report. It's online now. Tab, you also give, you got hard copies? Hard copies in front of you. So get a chance, take a look at that. If you need any more hard copies, let us know, but it is online as well on our webpage. The 2014 Departmental Work Program, we've got a lot of major activities going on. We didn't detail all of them on that sheet, but just some major ones. Our Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan, we'll be working with that throughout this entire year. Remember, that is a 5-county planning effort, and we're just now getting a lot of these meetings started up. Also, we're in the middle of at least one buyout program resulting from Hurricane Irene. We actually met with a family this week that has already consented to have their property bought out. We've got another application that's pending for about 13 properties. So again, there may be additional properties that would ultimately be the responsibility of the county to maintain in open space in perpetuity. Community development, we've got several different grants that are coming online this year that will be assisting folks with urgent repairs or either major rehabilitation. Our recreation plan is being updated. Alice Keene is now a special projects coordinator with our office, and she's kind of spearheading this along with Community Schools and Recreation's Director Rita Roy. We're involved with some of the mapping. If you go onto our webpage, there is a survey that any of the community can fill out to kind of give some ideas of what they'd like to see recreationally here in the county. So we encourage people to go on our website, look under news releases, and you can click on the survey and fill it out right there on site. We're also doing some mapping for stormwater purposes for the town of Grifton. A lot of additional information in your package tonight, items that have been to the commissioners over the last 2 to 3 months about some of the activities that you've been involved with, the rezonings, the zoning ordinance amendments for the cell towers, one that you dealt with, that was approved by the commissioners. Comprehensive land use plan amendments, those were also approved, as well as some other rezonings. There's also in your package our monthly report for December and several other articles. So, Mr. Chairman, that's all we have for you tonight, unless you have any questions.
Is it anything new with solar panels, solar farms, or whatever? Anything developing in that end?
And I didn't set you up for this one. Actually, this afternoon, we just received 2 conditional use applications that will go to the commissioners next month. So 2 new plans, one in the vicinity of Bethel that's in our planning jurisdiction, and another one that is near Belvoir Elementary School. So
Didn't we approve solar panel plant out on the Old Ramhorn Road out that way?
yes, and that one is still pending. They actually came in and requested a time extension. That was granted back in November, so that's given them 6 more months to start construction. But to date, they have not come in to get any building permits. So that's 3 new solar farms potentially here in the county. Good question, Bud.
Thank you. Good animal for that.
Anything else?
Frank would be proud. I'm sorry, I had to say
Yeah,
that.
he would be proud, wouldn't he?
Anything else further on the board? Hear a motion, we adjourn.
So moved.
Even adjourn.